Ambassador Lee Dong-woo walked through the metal corridors of Nexus Prime Station. His black suit was perfectly pressed and his face showed no fear. Around him, aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about their daily business. Some had scales, others had fur, and some glowed with inner light. But none of them looked at him with friendship. Nexus Prime was the center of galactic politics. It floated in space between star systems, neutral ground where all species could meet. The station was huge, almost like a small planet made of steel and glass. Millions of beings lived and worked there, representing hundreds of worlds. Dong-woo had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now. When humanity first joined the galactic community, many aliens thought humans would be easy to control. They were wrong. Dong-woo had proven that humans were smart, stubborn, and not afraid to speak the truth. He entered the Great Council chamber. The room was enormous, with seats arranged in circles around a central platform. Each species had their own section, designed for their specific needs. The Valith reptiles sat on heated stone slabs. The insect-like creche had hive-shaped pods. The Luminar beings floated in energy containment fields. Today's meeting was important. Dong-woo carried a datapad with information that would shock the galaxy. Human colonies on the outer rim had been attacked. Ships destroyed, settlements burned, people killed. At first, Earth Command thought these were random pirate attacks. But the evidence showed something much worse. The Council recognizes Ambassador Lee Dong-woo of Earth, announced the session leader, a tall blue alien with 4 arms. Dong-woo stood and walked to the central platform. Every alien eye in the chamber focused on him. He could feel their hatred like heat from a fire. They saw humans as newcomers, upstarts who didn't know their place. Honored Council members, Dong-woo began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. I bring evidence of war crimes against human colonies. A hiss came from the Valith section. Their leader, Supreme Regent Keth, raised his scaled head. More human lies, he said, his voice like gravel. Your species always complains when they cannot compete. Dong-woo ignored the insult. He activated his datapad and holographic images filled the air above him. Burned buildings, destroyed ships, dead colonists. The images were hard to watch, but Dong-woo showed them all. These attacks happened on 7 different worlds over 6 months, he said. At first we thought they were unconnected. Pirates or raiders seeking easy targets. But our investigation found something else. He pressed another button. New images appeared showing weapon signatures, ship designs, and attack patterns. Every attack used technology from 3 specific species. Valith plasma weapons, Kresh bioacids, Luminar energy disruptors. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Aliens shouted denials and accusations. The Kresh Queen's translator device buzzed with rapid clicks and hisses. The Luminar representative's energy field flickered with agitation. Dong-woo waited for quiet, then continued. We have debris from the attacking ships. DNA evidence from the assault teams. Communication intercepts showing coordination between all 3 powers. He looked directly at the alien leaders. This was not random piracy. This was systematic extermination. You are trying to wipe out human colonies before we become too strong to stop. Supreme Regent Keth stood up, his 7-foot frame imposing. These are fabrications. Humans create false evidence to gain sympathy. The evidence is real, Dong-woo replied calmly. Your own weapon signatures prove it. The Kresh Queen spoke through her translator. Human expansion threatens established territories. Natural selection demands the weak be eliminated. The Luminar representative, a being of pure energy contained in a force field, spoke in harmonious tones. Young species must learn their place. The galaxy has order. Humans disrupt this order. Dong-woo felt his anger rise but kept his voice steady. So you admit it. You're killing innocent people because you're afraid of competition. We admit nothing, Regent Keth said. But if humans continue their aggressive expansion, they may find the galaxy is a dangerous place. Is that a threat? Dong-woo asked. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what was happening. The 3 greatest powers in the galaxy had just openly threatened humanity. It was a moment that would change everything. Admiral Park Hyun-soo's voice suddenly crackled through Dong-woo's communicator, audible to the entire chamber. Ambassador, we're receiving reports of new attacks. 3 more colonies hit simultaneously. Early reports show the same weapon signatures. Dong-woo's face hardened. Even while he presented evidence of their crimes, the aliens were continuing their attacks. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. Humanity is not some primitive species you can bully into submission. We've survived ice ages, world wars, and plagues. We've turned deserts into gardens and reached for the stars. You think you can frighten us with midnight raids on defenseless colonies? He stepped closer to the alien leaders. You have no idea what you've started. The session leader called for order, but the chamber remained tense. Dongwu could see fear beginning to mix with the hatred in alien eyes. His words had struck home. Dr. Kim So-young watched from the gallery, taking notes on her datapad. She was officially on Nexus Prime to study alien biology, but she was also gathering intelligence for Earth. What she had discovered in recent weeks would terrify the aliens if they knew. Captain Choi Min-ho stood near the chamber entrance, his hand resting on his weapon. As head of the ambassador's security detail, he was always alert for threats. Today the threats seemed to be everywhere. The session leader announced a recess so the council could deliberate. As the aliens filed out, many of them whispered among themselves. Dongwu gathered his materials and left the platform. That went well, Captain Choi said sarcastically as they walked toward the exit. Better than expected, Dongwu replied. Now they know we have evidence. They can't pretend these attacks are random anymore. Dr. So-young joined them in the corridor. We need to talk, she said quietly. I've found something. Something that makes this much worse than we thought. They made their way to the human quarters, a small section of the station designated for Earth's diplomatic mission. It wasn't much, a few offices, living spaces, and a small communications center. But it was home while they were on Nexus Prime. In the communications center, Dr. So-young pulled up her research files. I've been analyzing biological samples from the attacked colonies, she said. The weapon residues contain something unusual. Genetic markers that suggest the aliens have been studying human DNA. What does that mean? Dongwu asked. I think they're developing biological weapons specifically designed to kill humans. Diseases that would only affect our species, Captain Choi cursed under his breath. Genocide weapons. It gets worse, So-young continued. The genetic analysis shows they've been collecting human DNA for years. From trade missions, diplomatic visits, even from medical assistance we provided to other species. They've been planning this for a long time. Dongwu felt a chill run down his spine. The aliens weren't just trying to stop human expansion. They were planning to wipe out humanity entirely. We need to get this information to Earth immediately, he said. Captain Choi nodded. I'll set up a secure transmission. As they prepared the data for transmission, none of them noticed the small listening device that had been planted in their communications equipment. In another part of the station, alien intelligence officers were recording every word. The war that would reshape the galaxy was about to begin, and it would start with the death of the man who tried to prevent it. The recess had lasted 6 hours. Ambassador Lee Dongwu paced in his quarters, waiting for word from the Galactic Council. Outside his window, he could see alien ships docked at the station's many ports. Some of them might be carrying weapons meant for human colonies. Captain Choi Min-ho entered the room, his face grim. Sir, we have a problem. Station security just informed us that several human staff members have been arrested on various charges. Theft, illegal data access, disturbing the peace. Convenient timing, Dongwu said. He wasn't surprised. The aliens were trying to isolate the human delegation before making their next move. Dr. Kim So-young burst through the door, her eyes wide with fear. They're coming, she said, breathing hard. I overheard Valeth security talking. They're planning to eliminate all humans on the station tonight. How many people do we have? Dongwu asked. 12 staff members still free, Captain Choi replied. Most of our security team was arrested an hour ago. It's just me and 2 guards left. Dongwu moved to his desk and activated the emergency communication system. This is Ambassador Dongwu to Earth Command. Priority Alpha transmission. The screen flickered, then showed Admiral Park Hyun-soo in Earth's military headquarters. Ambassador, what's your status? We've discovered evidence of a genocide plot against humanity. The aliens have been developing biological weapons designed specifically to kill humans. They've been planning this for years, collecting our DNA from diplomatic contacts. Admiral Park's face darkened. Can you transmit the evidence? Dr. So-young has everything prepared, Dongwu said. But I don't think we'll have much time. They're moving against us tonight. We're dispatching rescue ships immediately, the Admiral said. Hold your position. The nearest human fleet is 3 days away, Captain Choi pointed out after the transmission ended. We need to survive that long. Dr. So Young was working frantically at her computer, copying all her research onto data crystals. "I'm preparing multiple copies," she said, "hidden in different locations. Even if they kill us, this information will reach Earth." Suddenly, the lights in their quarters flickered and went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in red shadows. Then the air recycling system stopped, and they could hear it powering down throughout their section. "Life support sabotage," Captain Choi said, checking his weapon. "Classic assassination technique. Make it look like an accident." Dongwoo activated his personal communicator and switched to the station-wide emergency frequency. "This is Ambassador Lee Dongwoo to all beings on Nexus Prime. The human quarters are experiencing life support failure. This is not an accident. We are being murdered." His words echoed through the station's corridors. In the alien sections, beings heard a human voice filled with calm determination, even facing death. Captain Choi opened their emergency supply locker and handed out breathing masks. "These will give us maybe 2 hours of air. We need to reach the main station levels where the air is still good." They gathered their most important data and weapons, then opened the door to the corridor. The hallway was dark and silent. Too silent. On a busy space station, there should always be noise. People walking, machinery humming, conversations in a dozen languages. "It's a trap," Dr. So Young whispered. "Of course it is," Dongwoo replied. "But we have no choice." They moved carefully through the corridors, Captain Choi taking point with his weapon ready. Behind them, they could hear the hiss of air leaking into space. The aliens had damaged more than just their life support. They were venting the entire human section into the vacuum. As they reached the junction leading to the main station, armed figures stepped out of the shadows. Valeth soldiers in full battle armor carrying plasma rifles. Behind them were Kresh warriors, their insect bodies gleaming with natural armor. "Humans are restricted to quarters during the emergency," the lead Valeth said in accented standard. "Return immediately. What emergency?" Dongwoo asked, though he already knew. "Terrorist attack on station systems," the soldier replied. "Very dangerous. Humans must stay in secure area for safety." "Secure area with no air," Captain Choi said. The Valeth soldier's weapon came up. "Return to quarters. Final warning." Captain Choi moved faster than the aliens expected. His first shot took down the lead soldier before the reptile could fire. Dr. So Young dove behind a support beam as plasma bolts filled the corridor with deadly light. "Go," Captain Choi shouted, laying down covering fire. "Get to the council chamber." Dongwoo grabbed Dr. So Young's arm and they ran. Behind them, they could hear Captain Choi's weapon firing repeatedly, then a scream of pain, then silence. They reached the main levels of the station, where other species were going about their normal business. Many of them stared at the two humans running through their areas, but none offered help. "The council chamber," Dongwoo said. "If we can reach it, we can broadcast to the entire galaxy." They ran through the wide corridors, past shops and restaurants where aliens ate and talked as if nothing was happening. Some of them watched the humans with interest, others with disgust. Station security officers appeared ahead of them. Not Valeth or Kresh this time, but supposedly neutral peacekeepers from smaller species. "Ambassador Dongwoo," one of them said, "you must return to your quarters immediately. There has been a terrorist incident." "I am the terrorist incident," Dongwoo replied. "Stand aside." "We cannot allow that, sir." Dr. So Young pulled a small device from her pocket and threw it at the security officers. It exploded in a burst of light and sound, a flashbang grenade from her emergency kit. The officers stumbled backward, temporarily blinded. They reached the council chamber as alarms began sounding throughout the station. The great doors were sealed, but Dr. So Young produced another device from her kit. "Plasma cutter," she explained, burning through the door controls. "I came prepared." Inside the chamber, they found it empty except for maintenance robots cleaning the floors. Dongwoo went straight to the central platform and activated the broadcasting system. "This is Ambassador Lee Dongwoo of Earth," he said, his voice carrying across subspace to every world in the galaxy. "I am speaking to you from Nexus Prime, where agents of the Valeth Empire, the Kresh Hives, and the Luminar Collective are attempting to murder the entire human delegation." Dr. So Young worked frantically at the control panel, uploading their evidence to the broadcast system. Soon, images of destroyed human colonies were being transmitted across space. "For years, these three powers have been planning the complete extinction of humanity," Dongwoo continued. They have developed biological weapons designed specifically to kill humans. They have been systematically attacking our colonies while pretending to seek peace. More security forces arrived outside the chamber, but the doors were sealed and reinforced. It would take them time to break through. The evidence you are seeing is real, Dongwu said. Weapon signatures, genetic analysis, communication intercepts. All of it proves a coordinated campaign of genocide against my people. Dr. So-Young looked up from the control panel. Upload complete. Every world in the galaxy now has copies of our evidence. The chamber doors exploded inward. Phalith soldiers poured through the breach, followed by Kresh warriors and floating Luminar energy beings. At their head was Supreme Regent Keth himself, his scales dark with anger. Your lies end here, human, the Regent said. The truth has already spread, Dongwu replied. You cannot kill it. We can kill you. Dr. So-Young activated one final device, a small recorder she pressed into a crack in the chamber wall. Whatever happened next would be preserved and transmitted. People of the galaxy, Dongwu said, facing the alien weapons. Remember this moment. Remember that humanity asked only for peace and these beings chose war. Remember that we offered friendship and they offered death. When human ships come for justice, remember who struck first. Supreme Regent Keth raised his plasma weapon. Enough words, human. The shot lit up the chamber like lightning. Ambassador Li Dongwu fell to the floor, his message complete. Dr. So-Young screamed and tried to reach him, but Kresh warriors held her back. Broadcast everything, she shouted into her hidden recorder. Show them what they really are. But even as she spoke, she knew the galaxy had already seen enough. Dongwu's death had been transmitted live to billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. The aliens had wanted to kill him quietly, but instead they had created a martyr, and humanity would never forget. General Yun Tai-jin stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, screens showed star maps, fleet positions, and casualty reports. But the largest screen showed one image that burned into the mind of every human who saw it. Ambassador Li Dongwu, falling to the floor of the council chamber, shot down while trying to save his people. How many times has it been broadcast? The general asked. Every news network in the galaxy has shown it, Colonel Nam Ji-hai replied. 17 billion confirmed views and climbing. The aliens tried to cut the transmission, but Dr. So-Young's equipment kept sending. Commander An Seok-jin pulled up another screen. The reaction has been stronger than we expected, sir. It's not just humans who are angry. The screen showed protests on dozens of worlds. The Hydran aquatic cities had expelled all Valith diplomats. The crystalline beings of Silicar Prime had declared their space closed to Kresh ships. Even some members of the three great powers were speaking out against the assassination. They made a mistake, General Yun said quietly. They thought killing one man would frighten us. Instead, they showed the galaxy what they really are. Admiral Park Hyun-soo entered the war room, his face grim but determined. All human ambassadors have been recalled, he reported. Every trade mission, every diplomatic post, every human in alien space is coming home. We've also received formal requests for protection from 12 smaller species. Protection? Colonel Nam asked. They're afraid the Big Three will do to them what they did to us, Admiral Park explained. The Hydrans sent their entire royal family to Earth. The Crystallines are asking for human military advisors. They all saw that broadcast and realized they could be next. General Yun nodded. This was exactly what they had hoped for but never dared expect. The assassination had backfired completely. What about our special projects? He asked. Engineer Bei Su-jin stepped forward. She had been working in secret facilities across the solar system for 3 years, developing weapons that would give humanity an edge. The quantum displacement drives are ready for field testing. We can put ships anywhere in a star system instantly, bypassing all defensive positions. And the neural link systems? General Yun asked. Scientist Ro Kyung-min activated a holographic display. Complete. Our pilots can interface directly with their ship's computers. Response times are cut by 70%. We can also share combat data instantly between all units. These technologies had been humanity's deepest secrets. While the aliens thought they were dealing with primitive newcomers, human scientists had been pushing the boundaries of physics and biology. How soon can we deploy? Admiral Park asked. The first assault fleet is ready now, Engineer Bei replied. 50 ships equipped with quantum drives and neural interfaces. They look like standard human vessels, but they're unlike anything the galaxy has seen. General Yun walked to the central display. where a map of local space showed human colonies, alien territories, and neutral zones. Red markers indicated recent attacks on human settlements. They want a war, he said. They've been planning our extinction for years. They killed our ambassador when he tried to expose their crimes. They think we're weak because we tried diplomacy first. He turned to face his staff. They're about to learn that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our refusal to give up. When someone kills our people, we don't just fight back. We make sure it never happens again. Colonel Nam-Ji-Hai pulled up intelligence reports. Our analysis shows the three powers expected a limited human response. Maybe some angry protests, possibly a few retaliatory raids. They thought we'd eventually accept their dominance like other species have. What they don't understand, Commander An added, is that humans don't think like that. When someone tries to wipe us out, we don't just defend ourselves. We make sure the threat is eliminated completely. Dr. Park Min-jung, head of the Cyber Warfare Division, joined the briefing via hologram from her secret facility.
I've been monitoring alien communications since the assassination.
They're already arguing among themselves. The Kresh Queen is blaming the Valeth for moving too quickly. The Luminar Collective is trying to distance themselves from the operation. Good, General Yoon said. Fear makes enemies make mistakes. What about their military preparations? Minimal, Dr. Park replied. They're treating this like police action, not a war. Most of their fleets are still deployed in normal patrol patterns. They have no idea what's coming. The truth was that humanity had been preparing for this war since they first encountered the galactic powers. While playing the role of peaceful newcomers, human intelligence had been mapping every alien military base, studying their tactics, and preparing countermeasures. Admiral Park activated the fleet displays. We have advantages they don't know about. Our ships are faster, our weapons are more advanced, and our crews are better trained. But more importantly, we're united in a way they can't understand. Unity? Colonel Nam asked. Look at their alliance, Admiral Park explained. 3 different species working together only because they fear us. They don't trust each other. They have different goals, and they fight in different ways. When pressure mounts, they'll turn on each other. Humans, on the other hand, General Yoon continued, are fighting for survival. Every person on Earth, every colonist in space, every human in the galaxy knows that if we lose this war, our species dies. That kind of motivation makes us dangerous. Engineer Bay brought up technical specifications for their secret weapons. The aliens have been preparing biological weapons to kill humans specifically, but we've been preparing something else. Weapons designed to work against each of their species' weaknesses. Such as? Commander An asked. Valeth are cold-blooded, Scientist Rowe explained. Temperature-based weapons will disable them quickly. Kresh use pheromone communication. We can disrupt their coordination with chemical agents. Luminar are energy beings. Electromagnetic pulse weapons will scramble their consciousness. We know their biology, their psychology, their military doctrine, General Yoon said. We've studied them for 3 years while they ignored us. Now that knowledge becomes our weapon. A new alert appeared on the screens. Sir, Colonel Nam said, we're receiving a transmission from the Nexus Prime. The alien powers want to negotiate. General Yoon laughed, but there was no humor in it. Now they want to talk? After murdering our ambassador? The transmission showed Supreme Regent Keth, Kresh Queen Vex, and Luminar Prime Node speaking together. The Regent's voice was carefully controlled. Earth Command, we regret the unfortunate incident at Nexus Prime. The death of Ambassador Dongwu was not authorized. We wish to discuss terms for preventing further escalation. Admiral Park muted the transmission. They're lying, of course, but they're also afraid. Our silence since the assassination has them worried. They expected immediate retaliation, General Yoon agreed. When we didn't react, they started wondering what we're planning. Now they're trying to negotiate from a position of strength before we show them how weak they really are. He reactivated the transmission. Supreme Regent Keth, Queen Vex, Prime Node. Humanity acknowledges your communication. We are currently reviewing all options for our response to the unprovoked assassination of our diplomatic representative and the systematic genocide campaign against our colonies. We are prepared to offer compensation, the Regent said quickly. For genocide, General Yoon's voice was ice cold. What compensation equals the lives of innocent civilians? What price do you put on murdering a diplomat under a flag of truce? The 3 alien leaders exchanged glances. They were beginning to realize they had made a terrible mistake. We await your formal proposals, General Yoon continued. But understand this, humanity does not forget. We do not forgive. And we do not surrender. You have declared war on our species. Now you will face the consequences. He ended the transmission and turned to his staff. Send word to all fleet commanders. Operation Retribution begins in 72 hours. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you kill a human ambassador. The war room erupted in activity as orders were sent, weapons were loaded, and ships prepared for launch. Ambassador Lee Dongwoo's death would be avenged, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. Fleet Admiral Lim Jae-sung stood on the bridge of the flagship Ambassador's Vengeance as it dropped out of quantum space directly inside the Valeth military stronghold at Kronos Station. Around him, 49 other ships appeared in perfect formation, materializing within the enemy's defensive perimeter, like ghosts becoming solid. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Quantum displacement successful. Enemy ships are scrambling to respond. Through the view screen, Admiral Lim could see the massive Valeth station spinning slowly in space. It was supposed to be impregnable, surrounded by minefields, protected by energy barriers, defended by the most powerful warships in the reptilian fleet. The aliens had never imagined that human ships could simply appear inside their defenses. Target their command center, he ordered. Captain Han Boram, take your Marines and prepare for boarding action. Major Kim Woo-jin, your team will secure the station's weapons control. The first human missiles struck before the Valeth could even raise their shields. Explosions bloomed across the AE station's hull as quantum-enhanced warheads tore through armor that had protected the reptiles for centuries. Captain Han Boram watched from her assault ship as they closed on the station's docking bays. Her Marines were equipped with the latest combat suits, each one linked to a neural network that allowed them to share information instantly. When one Marine saw an enemy, they all knew about it immediately. Boarding in 30 seconds, she announced. Remember, we're not just here to destroy their base. We're here to send a message. Every alien in the galaxy needs to understand what happens when you kill human diplomats. The assault ship's cutting beams sliced through the station's hull like hot knives through butter. Human Marines poured through the breach, their weapons cutting down Valeth defenders who had never faced anything like humanity's coordinated assault tactics. Major Kim Woo-jin led his team through the station's corridors, following maps that human intelligence had secretly obtained years earlier. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitive newcomers, but humanity had been preparing for this war since their first contact with galactic civilization. Weapons control secured, he reported as his team eliminated the Valeth technicians, turning their own defenses against them now. Across the station, human forces moved with deadly precision. The neural link technology allowed perfect coordination between all units. When Marines on one level encountered resistance, troops 3 levels away already knew about it and were moving to help. Supreme Commander Thek of the Valeth 4th Fleet watched in horror from his command ship as the humans tore through his most secure facility. How did they get inside our perimeter? He demanded. Unknown, sir, his tactical officer replied. Their ships appeared from nowhere. Our sensors show no warp signatures, no hyperspace entry points. They simply materialized inside our defensive grid. Impossible, Thek said. But the evidence was right in front of him. Human ships destroying his bases while Valeth defenders died by the hundreds. Meanwhile, in the depths of space near the Kresh home system, Dr. Park Min-jung was conducting a very different kind of warfare. Her cyber warfare division had spent years studying the insect species' hive mind communication network. Now she was turning their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Injection successful, she reported to Earth Command. We're now broadcasting human memories directly into the Kresh neural network. Across the Kresh fleet, insect warriors suddenly found themselves experiencing Ambassador Dongwoo's final moments through human eyes. They felt the ambassador's determination as he broadcast the truth to the galaxy. They experienced his courage as he faced death to save his people, and they felt humanity's rage at his murder. For a species that shared all thoughts and emotions, the psychological impact was devastating. Kresh ships began to drift out of formation as their crews struggled with alien emotions they had never felt before. Queen Vex screamed in her royal chamber as human memories flooded through her consciousness. She had ordered the ambassador's death thinking it would break human resistance. Instead, she was now experiencing the unbreakable will of a species that refused to surrender. "Cut the network links," she commanded. "Isolate all ships from the hive mind." But it was too late. The human virus had already spread throughout their communication system. Every creche in the fleet was now carrying human memories of anger, determination, and an absolute refusal to accept injustice. The Luminar Collective faced a different nightmare. Commander Lee Hyejin piloted her prototype ship Retribution through their energy field defenses, her neural link allowing her to react faster than any alien pilot could follow. "EMP weapons charging," she announced, targeting their command node. The Luminar beings were pure energy held together by complex electromagnetic fields. They had always considered themselves superior to physical species, untouchable in their energy forms. They had never encountered weapons specifically designed to disrupt their existence. The first EMP blast struck the Luminar command node like lightning. The energy beings inside screamed in harmonics that shattered crystal formations on nearby asteroids. For the first time in their existence, they felt pain. "Direct hit on the primary node," Commander Lee reported. "Their coordination is breaking down. Secondary nodes are trying to compensate, but they're overloaded." More human ships emerged from quantum space, each one carrying weapons designed specifically for fighting energy-based life forms. The Luminar Collective, which had terrorized physical species for millennia, found themselves helpless against humanity's electromagnetic warfare. Back at Chrono Station, the battle was nearing its end. Captain Han Boram stood in the Valith Command Center, surrounded by defeated reptilian officers. The station's weapons were under human control, its defenses destroyed, its fleet scattered or destroyed. "Supreme Commander Thek," she said into the communication system, "your base is under human control. Your forces are defeated. You have one chance to surrender before we demonstrate what happens to species that commit genocide." Through the view screen, she could see Thek's command ship trying to escape. But human ships were faster, and their quantum drives allowed them to appear anywhere in the system instantly. Admiral Lim's voice came through the communication system. "Commander Thek, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." "Never," Thek replied. "The Valith Empire does not surrender to lesser species." "Then you die," Admiral Lim said simply. Human missiles struck the Valith command ship with surgical precision. The explosions were carefully controlled, enough to disable the ship but not destroy it. Humanity wanted prisoners, not martyrs. Within hours, the most secure Valith military base in the galaxy had fallen to human forces. The reptilian fleet was destroyed, their commanders captured, their secrets exposed. And this was just the beginning. Dr. Park Min-jung's cyber attack had crippled the Kresh communication network. Queen Vex's fleet was in chaos, their ships drifting helplessly as crews struggled with human emotions they couldn't understand. Commander Lee Hyejin's EMP weapons had shattered the Luminar command structure. The energy beings who had thought themselves untouchable were learning that humanity could hurt them in ways they never imagined. News of the attacks spread across the galaxy at light speed. In less than 6 hours, humanity had accomplished what no other species had managed in centuries. They had simultaneously struck devastating blows against all 3 galactic powers. On worlds throughout known space, aliens watched the broadcast with growing fear. The humans they had dismissed as primitive newcomers had just demonstrated military capabilities that defied understanding. But the most terrifying part wasn't the advanced technology or the surgical precision of the attacks. It was the cold, methodical way humans had dismantled their enemies. There was no rage, no wild destruction. Just professional soldiers doing a job that needed to be done. Admiral Park Hyun-soo addressed the galaxy from Earth's military headquarters. The attacks on Chrono Station, the Kresh communication network, and the Luminar command nodes are humanity's response to the assassination of Ambassador Lee Dongwu and the systematic genocide campaign against human colonies. He paused, letting his words sink in across billions of worlds. Let this be a lesson to any species considering aggression against humanity. We do not start wars, but we finish them. We tried diplomacy first and you murdered our ambassador. We offered peace and you chose genocide. Now you face the consequences of that choice. The 3 galactic powers had thought they were dealing with a minor annoyance that could be eliminated with a few raids and one well-placed assassination. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand. a species that viewed the murder of their diplomat not as the end of negotiations, but as the beginning of total war. Admiral Kim Da-eun stood on the bridge of her flagship as it entered orbit around the Valith homeworld. Below them, the ancient reptilian cities sprawled across red deserts and volcanic plains. This world had been the center of an empire for thousands of years. Today, it would kneel before humanity. Supreme Regent Keth is requesting permission to come aboard, her communications officer reported. He says he wishes to discuss surrender terms. Tell him he will surrender unconditionally, Admiral Kim replied. There are no terms to discuss, only consequences to accept. The past 3 months had seen humanity's war machine roll across the galaxy with unstoppable force. Every Valith military base had been captured or destroyed. The Kresh hive worlds were under human occupation. The luminar energy fields had been contained in electromagnetic prisons that could be activated at Earth's command. The aliens had tried everything: massed fleet battles, guerrilla warfare, even attempted alliance with minor species. Nothing worked. Human ships appeared wherever they wanted, struck with precision, and vanished before enemy forces could respond. Human cyber warfare had turned the aliens' own technology against them. Human biological weapons had targeted each species' specific vulnerabilities. But the most devastating weapon had been something the aliens never saw coming: humanity's ability to inspire other species to rebellion. Prime Minister Seo Junho watched from Earth as reports came in from across the galaxy. On Hydran worlds, the aquatic beings had declared independence from their Valith overlords. On crystalline planets, the silicon-based life forms had expelled all alien administrators. Dozens of species that had lived under the domination of the three powers for centuries were now free. It's remarkable, said Director Kang Yoon-soo, head of the new Galactic Justice Commission. They saw what we did to their oppressors and realized they didn't have to live in fear anymore. Dr. Oh Sun-mi entered the council chamber carrying datapads filled with intelligence reports. The true scope of their crimes is becoming clear, she said. The three powers weren't just planning to eliminate humanity. They were planning to enslave or destroy every species in the galaxy, except their own allies. She activated a holographic display showing the aliens' secret plans. Complete biological profiles on 347 different species. Weakness analyses, population control strategies, extermination protocols. They've been planning galactic genocide for decades. Prime Minister Seo studied the data with growing anger. How many species did they target for elimination? 237, Dr. O replied, including several that are already extinct. We thought those were natural disasters or evolutionary failures, but the evidence shows they were systematically murdered. The scope of the alien conspiracy was staggering. For centuries, they had been quietly eliminating any species that might challenge their dominance. Humanity had simply been their latest target, and the first to fight back successfully. On the Valith flagship, Supreme Regent Keth walked through corridors filled with human marines. He had ruled an empire spanning dozens of star systems. Now he was a prisoner on his way to surrender his entire species to beings he had considered primitive animals. Admiral Kim Da-eun received him in her ready room, flanked by 2 guards. The reptilian leader looked older than his years, his scales dull with stress and defeat. Admiral, he said in heavily accented standard, I come to discuss terms of surrender. There are no terms, she replied. Only justice. Your species has committed genocide against hundreds of civilizations. You plan to exterminate humanity and enslave the galaxy. You murdered a diplomat under a flag of truce. We were protecting our territory, Keth said weakly. You were committing mass murder, Admiral Kim corrected. The evidence is overwhelming. Your own records document the planned extinction of 237 species. She stood and walked to the view screen, where his homeworld turned slowly below them. Your empire is finished. Your military is destroyed. Your allies have abandoned you. You have one choice: unconditional surrender, or we complete the destruction of everything you've built. Keth's shoulders sagged. What? What will happen to my people? That depends on them, Admiral Kim said. Those who committed war crimes will face justice. Those who cooperated with genocide will be punished. But ordinary Valith who had no part in your conspiracy will be allowed to live under human supervision. Supervision? Your species has proven it cannot be trusted with independence. You will be relocated to designated worlds under human administration. Your children will be educated about the crimes their leaders committed. Perhaps in a few generations, when you've learned to live peacefully, you might earn some freedoms back. Keth realized the full scope of his defeat. Not only had his empire fallen, but his entire species would be subject to human rule for the foreseeable future. Meanwhile, on the former Kresh homeworld, Queen Vex faced a similar conversation with Commander Yang Sung-ho. The insect leader's compound eyes reflected the lights of human transport ships landing across her planet. Your hive structure is disbanded, Commander Yang informed her. Individual Kresh will be relocated to separate worlds to prevent reformation of the hive mind network. You cannot separate us, Queen Vex buzzed through her translator. We are collective beings. Isolation will drive us insane. Then you should have thought of that before planning genocide, Commander Yang replied coldly. Your species used the hive mind to coordinate mass murder. That network is now a threat to galactic peace. The Kresh had always believed their collective consciousness made them superior to individual-minded species. Now that same consciousness was being systematically dismantled as punishment for their crimes. The Luminar Collective faced perhaps the cruelest fate of all. As beings of pure energy, they could be contained indefinitely in electromagnetic fields. Captain Shin Hae-won supervised the construction of massive prison complexes, where the energy beings would be held until they could prove they were no longer a threat. How long? Asked the Luminar Prime Node, its harmonious voice now distorted by the containment field. As long as it takes, Captain Shin replied. Your species has existed for millions of years. You have patience. Use it to contemplate the consequences of your actions. But even as humanity dealt with their defeated enemies, they were building something new. The smaller species that had supported them during the war were being welcomed as equal partners in a new galactic order. Ambassador Shin Hae-won, appointed to replace the murdered Lee Dong-woo, addressed the reconvened Galactic Council from Nexus Prime. The station had been rebuilt and expanded, now serving as headquarters for the human-led galactic government. The old order is dead, she announced to representatives from hundreds of worlds. For too long, the galaxy was ruled by fear. Powerful species preyed on the weak. Entire civilizations were destroyed to maintain the balance of power. She gestured to the memorial statue that now stood in the center of the chamber. A figure of Lee Dong-woo with the inscription, "He died so that freedom might live." That ends today. The new Galactic Justice Commission will investigate all historical crimes. Species guilty of genocide will face appropriate punishment. Those who were victims will receive reparations and protection. The audience included representatives from dozens of species that had never before been allowed to speak in galactic politics. For the first time in centuries, the weak had a voice. Humanity does not seek to rule you, Ambassador Shin continued. We seek to protect you from those who would. The galaxy is large enough for all of us to prosper, but only if we ensure that aggressive species cannot prey on peaceful ones. Engineer Bae Soo-jin watched from the engineering section as human ships took up positions throughout the galaxy. The quantum displacement technology that had won the war now allowed humanity to maintain peace by force projection. Any aggressive action anywhere in known space could be met with immediate human response. The new order is established, she reported to Earth Command. Human forces are positioned at key strategic points. Monitoring stations are operational. Any species attempting genocide or mass aggression will face immediate retaliation. But perhaps the most important change was happening on Earth itself. General Yoon Tae-jin stood in the war room where the conflict had been planned, now converted into a memorial for all the humans who had died in alien attacks. We won, Colonel Nam Ji-hai said. Complete victory. The three powers are defeated, their empires dissolved, their threat eliminated. Did we? General Yoon asked quietly. We set out to protect humanity from genocide, but we ended up conquering half the galaxy, because that was the only way to ensure it never happened again, Admiral Park Hyun-soo replied. If we had stopped at defeating their fleets, they would have rebuilt and tried again in a few decades. Now they can't, General Yoon nodded. It was the price of absolute security, absolute power. Humanity now controlled the galaxy, not because they sought conquest, but because anything less would leave them vulnerable to future genocide attempts. On Nexus Prime, the memorial to Lee Dong-woo bore a simple inscription below his statue. The ambassador's death shocked the entire galaxy. Humanity's response changed it forever. The galaxy had learned too late that when you kill a human diplomat, you don't just murder one person,